Hey y'all. Let me fix this first. Hold on. Boom, all right, I on live, but all right. Good afternoon. Hope you guys are having a wonderful, wonderful afternoon. Welcome to class. When you guys are signed in, just let me know that you're here. Because what we're gonna do is we're gonna focus back on rulers of the houses. All right. I'm talking my class on YouTube. Yeah. So, all right. Let's take a look at. So we're gonna continue on from where we left off from on Tuesday. We were talking about rulers of the houses, rulers of the sign. But what I didn't do is I didn't go back into all of the dignities and the debilities, and that's what we're gonna cover. We're gonna cover that today. And that's why I named this class Dignities and Debilities, so you could get the gist of it. Remember now, we only talked about the ruler of where the moon is comfortable, where the sun is comfortable. What we're gonna do now today is we're gonna focus on Mercury and Venus. We're gonna take a look at the houses and the signs that the signs actually that Mercury is comfortable in, and the ones that it doesn't like. So give me a second. All right. I see somebody signing. Just let me know that you're here. Please. Thank you. Okay. Is the message on? Okay. Message is on. Dignities. Astrology. All right. Whoever's in, can you say that you're online? I can't see nothing. I can't see who's online. Nothing. And I'd like to know who's there. Okay. So last time we took a look at the sun and the moon. Remember now, we took a look and we saw what it rules, where it's exalted, where it's in detriment, and where it's in fall. We have come to the understanding that the sun it rules the sign of Leo, is in exaltation or exalted in the sign of Aries, its detriment in Aquarius, and fall in Libra. And if you take a look, you'd realize that Leo is opposite to Aquarius. And you understand that Aries is opposite or in polarity to Libra. It's called polarity, all right? And we did the moon as well. The moon is in Cancer. The moon rules Cancer and is exalted in the sign of Taurus. Is in detriment in the sign of Capricorn and in fall in the sign of Scorpio. And those signs are in polarity to each other. Cancer is opposite to Capricorn, and Taurus is opposite the sign of Scorpio. We explained in the class before last about why. So now we're going to tip onto Mercury. And we're going to talk about Mercury itself, on its debilities and its dignities. Mercury is the planet that rules communication, travel, siblings, your thought process, and other things that we could go into, which could also take a whole day to learn. But we're going to focus on that. Any kind of information, any kind of travel is ruled by Mercury. Short distance travel, your car is ruled by Mercury. Buses ruled by Mercury. Believe it or not, they're ruled by Mercury. Your newspaper, ruled by Mercury. Any kind of form of communication is ruled by Mercury. Writing is ruled by Mercury. So what we're going to see is we're going to take a look at what sign it rules. Mercury, according to traditional astrology, rules two signs. Two signs. To guard your privacy and provide your community guidelines. Okay. It rules two signs. Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo in traditional astrology. It rules Virgo and Gemini in traditional astrology. In modern astrology, people have equated Chiron. Hey, what's going on? You deleted your message? Okay, present. You seem to be the only one here. You're my faithful student. Mercury rules Gemini. And like I said, and traditional astrology also rules Virgo. Modern astrologers have equated Chiron to ruling Virgo because of the wounded healer. So we're going to use Virgo. We can use Mercury for now and say Mercury rules Virgo and Gemini. Just for now. It's in its dignity. It is in its own home, its own kingdom, in the sign of Gemini and Virgo. The opposite of the opposite of Gemini and Virgo is Sagittarius and Pisces. And this is where it is in detriment. In detriment, meaning that it does not have the same power it has in its own sign. It is a stranger, a king in a strange town that don't even know it's a king. Mercury is in detriment in the sign of Sagittarius and Pisces. These two signs are opposite Gemini and Virgo. It's an exaltation in the sign of Virgo. Well, actually, this is messed up. Mercury is an exaltation in the sign of Aquarius. Mercury is an exaltation in the sign of Aquarius. And it is in fall in the sign of Leo. It's an exaltation in the sign of Aquarius and in fall in the sign of Virgo. You want to understand why so I can explain it to you? I will explain it to you. I'll explain it to you, Ambi, since you're the only one in my class today. Mercury is a thought process. Gemini is a thinker. He's a tricky guy. He's a tricky sign. This is known as the trickster or the mentalist, so to speak. And Mercury rules that area. So it's pretty good there. In Aquarius, is exalted in Aquarius because, wow, very sorry. When you think about the internet is ruled by Aquarius. It's actually ruled by Uranus in Aquarius. And that is the widest form of communication now. The internet, When you think about communication on a broader perspective, because Uranus is dealing with the whole big picture, then you understand why Mercury is exalted in now. it wants to talk to everybody. And Aquarius wants to talk to everybody. It wants to communicate with everybody. It wants just utopian of knowledge. It wants everybody to know everything. Uranus actually rules, Aquarius rules intellect, even though, you know, Mercury rules the thought process. So it is exalted in the sign of Aquarius, which means that when you're a person that has Mercury in Aquarius, these people have the capability of being exceptionally smart. Exceptionally smart. Quick-witted. Able to connect with people through any means of communication. It's in detriment in the sign of Sagittarius and Pisces. Why, you would ask? Because it's opposite the sign of Gemini and Virgo. And we understand this in the shadow. Sagittarius doesn't stay focused. It always is in motion. It needs visualization. It cannot read word. People who have Mercury in Sagittarius, find it hard to just read a book with just words that are not in movement. They do better with watching videos and learning. And Pisces, remember now, Pisces is the Neptune energy. It thinks about the all is one. So they're always dreaming, never focused, always daydreaming. Could you imagine somebody with Mercury and Pisces? It takes them hard. Which one sounds like you? You don't have any of those. Your Mercury is actually in Gemini. It is in its rulership. Your thought process is amazing. It's probably why you have a smart mouth. You answer people real fast. It's because the lines between your mind and your mouth. Oh, you mean watch videos instead of reading? Oh, I'll have to take a look at your chart to see why it's like that. But Mercury and Pisces find it hard to focus because they're always daydreaming. They're thinking about utopia and the ideal. So it's hard for them. This is why it's in detriment. And it's in fall. It's in fall in Leo. It's in fall in Leo. That's right. In Leo. Why? Why would you say that? Because remember now, in Aquarius is exalted. In fall, which is opposite to Leo. Opposite Aquarius is Leo. That's the polarity. And Leo likes to brag. Leo wants to be adored for its thought process. It doesn't really care about really putting the work in. It's already arrived. So it could speak very condescendingly. People who have Mercury in Leo could speak to people condescendingly. It could seem as if they are, because they talk with authority. And that could be good in its own case. However, when you're connecting with somebody on a one-to-one level, you don't want somebody talking down to you. You want them talking to you. So we're going to go over that again. Mercury is in its own sign, in the sign of Gemini and Virgo. Opposite that is in detriment in the sign of Sagittarius and Pisces, which are opposite Gemini and Virgo. It's in exaltation in the sign of Aquarius, and it's in fall in the sign of Leo. You got that? Let me know if you have that, Ambi. Sit I'm waiting. All right, good. That's all I wanted to know. So now, let me try to get you onto Venus. Venus rules. Hold on 1 second. Hold on. Venus rules the sign of Taurus, and in modern astrology, in traditional astrology, it also rules Libra. All right. Let me just spell this. Debilities. All right. And A-N-D. Delete and go. Go. Okay, like we were saying. Oh, you're still here, right? Good. So Libra is naturally ruled by, and like I said, Libra and Taurus are ruled by the sign of Venus in traditional astrology. Venus and, Libra and Taurus, or Taurus and Libra, is ruled by Venus. All right. Okay. It's in its rulership, meaning that it owns it, it runs it, it's its own ruler. Venus is an exaltation in the sign of Pisces. Hey Gandhi, good night. If you caught up, you'll realize that we're talking about dignities and debilities. Sorry, my phone. Okay, good. We're talking about dignities and debilities, okay? We went over Mercury, and now we're on to Venus. Venus rules the sign of Taurus and Libra in traditional astrology. Its ruler, it rules. Your phone froze or mine's froze? Which one? All right. Just want to know, did your phone freeze or mine's? I'm going to continue on just for the sake of the video itself. Okay, good. All right. So Venus rules Libra and Taurus. It's in its rulership. It's in its dignity. It is dignified in those two signs, which means that just like a kingdom, a king is sitting in his own castle. So he sits relaxed and comfortable. Everybody adores him and worship him because he rules his home. This is the same way with Venus in the sign of Taurus and Venus in the sign of Libra. Now, opposite that is known as the detriment. Opposite the ruler or the dignity is the detriment. And the sign that's opposite the sign of Taurus is Scorpio. And the sign that's opposite to Libra is Aries. And if you realize that Venus, even though it is a feminine energy, Scorpio and Aries are ruled by Mars. Well, Mars rules is the secondary rule of Pluto. Of Scorpio. So when you look at it, Venus doesn't feel comfortable in those signs. Or you have to check your internet then. Probably it's your internet. Venus is not comfortable in those signs because Venus wants love. It doesn't want war. It wants relationship commitment. It doesn't want singleness, like as Aries puts it. It doesn't want strife. and possessiveness, because love is open and free. It's expressive, but it's not contained. It doesn't contain jealousy and envy and those things that are negative of the Scorpio energy. So it is in detriment in those two signs. Whenever you see somebody who has Venus in Aries or Venus in Scorpio, I don't want you to slip and think that they have it easy in their relationships. They probably don't. They probably go through a lot of possessiveness in the sign of Scorpio and a lot of drama. Not the Leo type drama, but the friction, action, fighting, and gotta, type drama with Aries, Venus in Aries. All right. So remember now, it's in rulership in Libra and Taurus. It's in detriment in Scorpio and Aries, which are opposite Libra and Taurus. Scorpio. Taurus and Libra is opposite Scorpio and Aries. Once you remember that, dignities and debilities of Venus will be easy for you. Venus is exalted, like I said, in the sign of Pisces. Why is exalted? Because Venus wants love. It wants a spiritual love, a spiritual connection. It just feels a sense of utopia in love. Love conquers all. Love unites all. And that's what Venus in Pisces brings. It is and has the epitome of love. Say welcome back, Andy. It has the epitome of love. Venus in the sign of Pisces is exalted in the sign of Pisces. It's in its highest and best sign in Pisces. Opposite to Pisces is the sign of Virgo. And it is in fall in the sign of Virgo. It is not comfortable in Virgo. Why? Because Virgo is a sign that's very picky. It's very analytical. It needs answers. It needs data. It just is not very sure of itself. So when you look at love, when you look at Venus in the sign of Virgo, when they look at love, it's more so finding faults, perfecting and criticizing and calculating. It is not very comfortable. It is in fall in the sign of Virgo. I'm going to repeat it again. Venus is in its dignity. Venus is in its dignity in the sign of Taurus and Libra, and it's in its detriment in the sign of Scorpio and Aries. It's in exaltation in the sign of Pisces, and it's in fall in the sign of Virgo. And we gave the example and understanding of why and who. Once you understand that, we're going into Mars and Jupiter. Mars and Jupiter. What I'm going to do is I'm going to definitely start my cue cards so you can be able to take a look, and I'm going to hold it up so you can take a picture so you guys can be more visual. You feel me? Okay. All right, good. Mars. Mars is in its own sign. It's in its dignity in the sign of Scorpio and Aries. In Scorpio and in Aries, or Aries and Scorpio. It's in its dignity. It is the king. It is the ruler of these signs, so it sits comfortably. Opposite to those two signs, which is Aries and Scorpio, opposite its sign of Scorpio and Aries is where it is in detriment. Remember now, Venus had its time. Venus is in exaltation, is in rulership in Taurus and Libra. Mars is in detriment in Taurus and Libra. Those two signs, Taurus is, it is not, Mars is not comfortable in those two signs of Taurus and Venus. So let me understand. Let me let you to understand this. Mars is not comfortable in the sign that Venus rules. And Venus is not comfortable in the sign that Mars rules. Repeat again. Mars is not comfortable in the sign that Venus rules. And Venus is not very comfortable in the sign that Mars rules. It is in detriment. Mars is in exaltation in the sign of Capricorn. It's an exaltation, meaning exalted in the sign of Capricorn. You got to try to figure out why. Why is it exalted in the sign of Capricorn? The reason why it's exalted in the sign of Capricorn is because Mars is ambitious. It's driven. It's goal-oriented. And so is Capricorn. Capricorn wants to be known. It wants to be in society. Yes, exactly, again. The God of war versus God of love. Exactly. Mars in the sign of Capricorn is comfortable because it's aggressive, it's ambitious, and it's driven to be known in society. Mars wants to be known. It wants to be known as that stable, straightforward, business-oriented type war machine. So Mars is exalted in the sign of Capricorn. It wants to do things on its own. It wants to take care of the bills. It wants to be responsible. So it is exalted in there. Opposite that of Capricorn is Cancer. And it is in fall in Cancer. You know, it'll be fall because in the sign of Cancer, Cancer is very feelings-like. It goes with emotions. And when you're at war, you don't need emotions. When you're in a conflict, you don't need emotions. You need action. You don't need worrying about your family, which is represented by Cancer. When you're at war, when you're in the sign of Mars, conflict and ambition and drive and even sex. If you want to use sex, you don't want to think about your family whilst you're having sex. This is something that is not very comfortable. So as you can see, Mars it is in fall in the sign of Cancer, which is opposite to Capricorn, where it is exalted. I hope I explained that enough for you to understand why Mars is comfortable in the sign of Capricorn and why it's uncomfortable or in fall in the sign of Cancer. Cancer is moody. It goes with his moods. Whatever I feel, it feels. Capricorn is stable, steady, strict, to the book. And that's why it's comfortable there. All right? We're moving on to Jupiter because we got to move this fast. I want to make sure you guys get this. And we're going to look at some of you guys' charts in the class, and we're going to take a look at it. All right. Jupiter is in its own rulership in the sign of Sagittarius and Pisces. It's in its own kingdom in Sagittarius and Pisces. It's very comfortable. Okay? Jupiter wants expansion. It wants knowledge. It wants wisdom. It wants spirituality. All of these things are connected to Sagittarius. Jupiter, Sagittarius. Pisces wants expansion. It wants wisdom. It wants knowledge. It wants spirituality, which is also encompassing of Jupiter. So it's in its own rulership in those signs. Take in mind that traditional astrologers equate Jupiter to ruling Pisces. Modern astrologers give Pisces rulership to Neptune and Jupiter. So it rules Sagittarius and Pisces. But guess what? Opposite that is Gemini and Virgo. Jupiter is not comfortable in the sign of Virgo and not comfortable in the sign of Gemini. Why? Because Jupiter wants truth. It wants truth. It wants knowledge and wisdom. Gemini is the little trickster. It just wants to travel. It just wants gossip. It wants knowledge. It wants to talk. Not all wisdom, all knowledge is to be expressed freely, not as Gemini would like for it to be. In the sign of Virgo, which worries a lot, remember now, Jupiter expands it. So it will make that person more nervous, more critical. So it expands that. Think about that. You like Gemini because you are a Gemini. I'm not picking on Gemini. Geminis are very tricky. It's the nature of Mercury. But they're also very intelligent and very cunning and very smart and very quick on their mouth and can talk their way out of anything. Did I say intelligent? They're intelligent. Say boom. So yeah, Jupiter in the sign of Virgo and Gemini are not comfortable. So you need to get the girl a bad boy. Yeah, you're right. You don't know what to expect. Oh, your mother's a Gemini. I'm not going to do like everybody else does. Everybody, they curses the fact of Gemini and say they'd never date a Gemini and all is Gemini. There's a lot of people hating on Geminis. All over this, all over. So, as you see, Jupiter is not very comfortable in them because, one thinks a lot and one worries a lot. Ain't nobody wants to be thinking. And nobody want to be worried, always nervous. Take in mind that my Jupiter is in the sign of Virgo. So, yeah. It's not the easiest thing. It is an exaltation. Jupiter is an exaltation, or exalted, in its best sign, in the sign of Cancer. It's in its best sign in the sign of Cancer. Why? Because the home wants to expand. The home is where you need to learn have your knowledge and wisdom. The home gives you a sense of security. Even though Jupiter wants to expand, you can expand your home. You want to expand your family. You want to expand your culture, the place you live in. You want it to be connected. You want it to express your own sense of tribalism or your culture outwardly. So it's exalted in the sign of Cancer. I hope you guys writing these down. This need to be learned. Opposite the sign of Cancer is Capricorn. Jupiter is not comfortable in the sign of Capricorn. Why? Because Capricorn wants structure and order. It wants to keep you, because Capricorn is naturally ruled by Saturn. It wants restriction, a sense of responsibility. Jupiter wants to be free. It wants to expand. So it's not comfortable in the sign of Capricorn. Got that? Okay. Let me know if you have any questions I need for you to ask. I don't want to leave any of you behind. So I'm going to go over it again with Jupiter. Jupiter is in its dignity in Sagittarius and Pisces. Opposite that is Gemini and Virgo, where it is in detriment. It is highly not comfortable in those signs. Jupiter is in exaltation in the sign of Cancer. It is in its best place. It is in fall, opposite Cancer, which is Capricorn. It's not comfortable there. All right? Moving on to Saturn. This is the last one we're going to do for today. And then we're going to give you examples of why. All right? Saturn is in its rulership in the sign of Capricorn. It's in its rulership in the sign of Capricorn. It is the reason why, Saturn wants restriction, Capricorn wants fame and fortune. It wants fame slowly. So it gives a sort of sense of responsibility. It's in its own sign. It rules it. It's its own kingdom. It's in detriment in the sign of Cancer. As a matter of fact, let me give you another example. In traditional astrology, Capricorn also rules Aquarius. It's the secondary rule of Aquarius. Capricorn. I mean, a sign of the planet Saturn. The planet Saturn is in detriment in the sign of Cancer and Leo. Why? Why is it in detriment? It's because Saturn wants restriction. The sign of Cancer wants family. It wants to be able to learn and progress. It doesn't want restriction. It don't want you to keep the family small and structured and ordered. It wants freedom to be able to the family to express itself. And the sign of Leo, think about that. Leo is the sign that deals with fun, expression, creativity, children, sex, like romance, sex. And in the sign of Saturn, which is the restrictor, very responsible, the one that holds, it's not very comfortable in that sign. It doesn't know how to have fun. It's so rigid and so, so it is not comfortable in the sign of Leo and in the sign of Cancer. Saturn is exalted. It's in its best sign, believe it or not, in the sign of Libra. Libra, if Saturn is in Libra, it is exalted. Best sign. Why? You want to know why? Saturn is so restrictive. Of course it is. However, the sign that rules partnerships is Libra. And Saturn is responsible. So Saturn and Libra takes relationships very serious. Saturn. Relationships, Libra, serious. Partnerships, responsible. You get it? Now, there is a saying that people who have Saturn and Libra don't really get married early in life because Saturn is a father time, so they literally wait a certain time to get married and they last longer. It's because they allow themselves to express themselves and to appreciate partnerships. So Saturn is in exaltation in the sign of Libra. Remember now, it's in fall or in the opposite sign of that, which is Aries. Saturn is in fall in Aries. It is not comfortable in the sign of Aries. Why? It's because Aries is about the self. Expressing the childlike expression. Aries is the first sign. It's the baby. It's the child of the zodiac. It don't want no thought to be. It doesn't even know how to be a child yet. But yet Saturn is just sitting in its sign. It can't even be a child. It can't be expressive. It can't be focused on itself. It got to be responsible and restricted. And all the things that come with the planet Saturn. It isn't comfortable in that sign. I'm going to repeat it again. Saturn in the sign of Capricorn, it rules Capricorn and the secondary rule of Aquarius. So it's in its kingdom there. It's in detriment opposite that, which is Cancer. Cancer is opposite Capricorn, and Leo, which is opposite Aquarius. It is in its detriment. It's in a sign that it inhibits, it prohibits. It doesn't like, those signs don't like the planet Saturn in it. It's an exaltation in the sign of Libra. It loves Libra. It's in its fall in the sign of Aries. Once you get that, that's all of the planets. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send you the what it rules and what it doesn't rule, its debilities and its dignities. It's called Dignities and Debilities. And this is the part of astrology where you have to learn so you can understand why certain things are happening. Why certain things happen to certain people, even though they may have similar positions. If their Venus is sitting in a different sign, they won't have the same expression relationship-wise as you would. If their Mars is inside a different sign than yours and it's in detriment, and yours is exalted, you can't really judge or blame them because they don't have the drive that you have, the ambition that you have. You'd realize that this is a part of their makeup, and you don't be judgmental. Take in mind that on a lesson, 2 lessons, even though you've decided before you came here what you're going to be, what you're going to do according to the theory of reincarnation and the Akashic records, you literally don't have no choice while you're here but to function upon the either positive or the negative energies of a planet that rules certain parts of your life. So this is why, judging people, how they act and how you act, or trying to compare this person to that person, it's not feasible because they're completely different. So study these dignities and debilities, please. It's important. And take a look at your own chart, at people's chart that you've ever done before, and you can take a look and say, hold on, this person has Venus in Aries? Oh, wow. They may be in that relationship now, but guarantee within 3 to 5 years, there may be some turmoil. Or you can look at somebody's Mars and be like, wait, this person Mars is in Scorpio? Oh my gosh. That's the best sign. Like you could be able to tell just from those placements, so dignities and abilities, how good of an area that planet rules, how they're going to function, how they're going to work. It is fundamental to know. I can't express it no more. Fundamental to know the dignities and debilities. Okay? You guys are quiet. I need for you to respond, please. Hello? Hi, hello? Not only that, I want you to understand that. So, oh Lord, I gotta sit far. Let me get closer. Let me bring this closer to me so we don't have that problem. Okay. Once we get the dignities and debilities, you have to understand the accidental dignities and accidental debilities. Meaning that they accidentally are in its debilities or dignities. And this can happen by being in a certain house. Yes, absent the sun sign. Thank you. Because everybody doing sun sign. You know what I mean? Everybody does. Yeah, I a Capricorn, so you know how I go. No, 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 no. That's just your sun sign. Of course, we know the core of you, but there's much more to you than just that Capricorn energy. As you guys learn, you're going to be teaching people this. When you have people talking sun sign astrology, I know you don't, that may be all they know. But if it's somebody you care about, or you want them to know more, then you teach them. All right, so now that we got dignities and debilities, let's look at accidental dignities and accidental debilities. How does this happen? It happens by being inside a certain house. It happens by being in a certain house. A certain planet in a certain house is very comfortable in a certain house. So let's just say, let me use an example. And we're going to look at your charts in a minute so we can talk about this. Mars is very uncomfortable in the sign of Cancer. However, Mars loves the first house and the eighth house. Mars loves the first house and the eighth house because why? That's the houses that it naturally rules. So you could have the planet Mars in the sign of Cancer, and it'll be in fall. It'll be in fall. It doesn't like that sign. However, it could be if it's in the first house, that would sort of ease the tension, ease the bad experiences of Mars in the sign of Cancer. It lessens it a bit. You understand what I'm saying? That would mean it is an accidental dignity, accidental rulership. This is how it becomes accidental in the houses. So let's use Venus for instance. Venus is not so you have accidental dignities and accidental debilities. The same way I use Mars in the first house, in the sign of Cancer. Remember, it isn't comfortable in the sign of Cancer, but in the first house, it's very comfortable. So it sort of balances off. It accidental dignity. You could look at, and I want you to see accidental exaltation. It's exalted in the sign of Capricorn. So 10th house, if Mars was inside a sign of Cancer in the 10th house, it would be accidentally exalted. Accidentally exalted. They would still have the same feelings and emotions of Cancer. But because it's exalted in the 10th house, it'll still have ambition and drive. It'll still have the need to be, to be responsible, and it'll hide some of that emotions that it normally has. It'll nullify it a bit. So it'll be accidentally exalted. I need you to follow me. Let me know if you're lost, if you don't understand what I'm saying, let me know. I need to know before I move on. While you're forming your questions, I'm going to show you how it could be doubled, how the energy could be stronger. Let's just say you're an Aries rising. Okay, good. Let's just say you're an Aries rising and you have Mars in the sign of Aries. This would mean that Mars is in his rulership in the house and in his rulership in the sign. Take in mind this though. Let's just say that Mars was in Aries in the 10th house where it is accidentally exalted. Remember now, Mars loves the 10th house. Mars extremely loves the 10th house. It's comfortable in its own home in the first house and in the eighth house. But it loves the 10th house. Can you imagine having Mars in Aries in the 10th house? Just think about it. Mars in Aries in the 10th house. That would be what we would call a accidental exaltation. I don't want to confuse you. I want you to understand that Mars rules Aries. And Mars is exalted in the sign of Capricorn. Remember, Capricorn naturally rules the 10th house and is exalted in the sign of Capricorn. So it is also exalted in the 10th house. So when you see somebody who have Mars in Aries in the 10th house or Mars in Scorpio in the 10th house, you know that this person will strive to be somebody of great importance. Its ambition is on overdrive. You take a look at somebody who has that and be like, whoa, this person, you ain't got to have to worry about. They probably be in the army, an army general, a police officer, somebody who is very much ambitious in the area that their profession that they're gonna be focused on. Let me take a look at one of you guys' charts so we could follow from there. I get MB, you were here first. Let's take a look at your chart. And let's take a look to see what you have in and where you have certain things. Amber, your chart looks pretty awesome. However, you have some exaltations or accidental exaltations. Looking at your chart, you have Mercury in the sign of Gemini, sitting in the 11th house. Remember now, Mercury is in its own sign in Gemini and is exalted in the sign of Aquarius, which means that you have a supreme intellect. Your intellect is pretty much, your Mercury is exalted accidentally, and it's in its own rulership. So that's sort of like you have the capabilities of learning, catching on fast, doing things very easily. Wow. And you have something called Kazami, which I didn't realize until just now, which means that you have psychic ability. You just happen to know things. Things come to you very easily. Yeah. So that is where your Mercury is exalted in that house. Well, her Mercury isn't in Aquarius. It's in the house that naturally rules Aquarius, which is the 11th house. Mercury in Aquarius is exalted, but in the 11th house is also accidentally exalted. So things are accidentally either debilitated or what I call fall accidentally ruling by the house position. It's accidentally by the house position, the house that it's in, okay? Because her Mercury is sitting inside the 11th house, it's accidentally exalted. Your Jupiter is in a regular sign. It's in the sign of Taurus. It isn't here nor there. It's a neutral sign. But it's in the 10th house. Jupiter is not comfortable in the 10th house. Why? Because Jupiter is not comfortable in the sign of Capricorn. Very restrictive. or what have you. And Jupiter in the 10th house wants expansion. So your Jupiter is accidentally in fall, but it's in the sign of Taurus, which also yields prosperity. Which means that if it wasn't really sitting in the 10th house, Jupiter and Taurus would express its way of making sure that you have riches beyond measures. But because it's accidentally in fall, that may be a bit harder than you'd expect. Once you understand, you guys are getting the accidental debility and dignities are where the house that is sitting in. Okay. Another thing, you have Saturn sitting in the sign of Sagittarius. You know, Sagittarius doesn't really like that. It's okay. It's a neutral placement for Saturn. However, it's sitting in your 5th house. It's sitting in your 5th house. And Saturn is not very comfortable in the 5th house. Because why? The 5th house is naturally ruled by Leo. And remember now, Saturn is not comfortable in the sign of Leo or the house that it rules, which is the 5th house. Which means that, what do they call it again? Rearing a child or rearing children seems to be, a very serious responsibility. You find that as a serious thing. It is very, very serious. You find it to be very restrictive in a sense, and now it's more serious for you. And as you get older, the desire for more children comes. Because you see the responsibility, you don't want to be, you think about the responsibilities of it and it sort of dampens you. But as you get older, the need for more kids will be more stronger. This is what Saturn does over time. So your Saturn is in accidental fall in the 5th house. Why the old boy? You got to share that. Your Mars is this the last thing I see in your chart that has that you have an accident. Oh. So, yeah, another thing that's accidental is your sun sign is in accidental detriment. Your sun is in accidental detriment. Remember now, it's in detriment. Sun is in a detriment sign in the sign of Aquarius. And Aquarius rules the 11th house. Your sun is sitting in the 11th house, which means that your sun is in accidental detriment. You don't get to express and experience the sun sign of a Gemini. So when a Gemini literally wants to be expressive, it wants to talk with everybody, wants to communicate with everybody, you're not that way. You're more so, okay, you don't get to express your creativeness the way you'd like to, even though you may have these talents. Because it's sitting in the 11th house, it's in accidental detriment, which means that it's not as expressive as you would like for it to be. Your personality is not as big as most Geminis. It's because it's an accidental detriment. Your Mars is in accidental rulership. It's sitting in the 8th house. So even though it's in the sign of Pisces, your Mars in the 8th house makes that Mars strong. Okay? Miss Johnson, we're going to look at your chart. Are you following, Candy? That's why people don't believe. Yes, that's why people don't believe that you're a Gemini. It's because your sun is in accidental detriment. Candy, we're on your chart. We're going to be looking at your chart now. Let me know if you're following. I want to know if you're here. Good. Okay. So we're going to take a look at your own. Say I'm stealing Wi-Fi. Okay, cool. I'm glad that you're still here though. Okay. So looking at your sun, as you know, your sun is in detriment in the sign of Aquarius. Your sun is in detriment in the sign of Aquarius. It is not in its best sign. It is not in its comfortable sign. It's not comfortable in that sign. However, your sun is in the 5th house. So it is an accidental dignity. It's an accidental rulership. So even though Aquarius may not be comfortable sun sign, the fact that it's sitting in your 5th house makes it a lot more easier than regular Aquarius. You may not go through all the hardships that most Aquarius go through. You will experience some Aquarius energy from being in the sun sign. However, sitting in the 5th house, this makes you much more of a personality. It gives you presence. It gives you, what's the word I want to use? Charisma. Sitting in the 5th house. Charismatic. Makes you charismatic. Which is a good thing. Because if you were sitting, if your sun sign was in Aquarius in the 11th house, that would be double debilitated. It'd be double in detriment, which you don't want. So even though it's an Aquarius in detriment, it's also accidentally exalted in the 5th house, accidentally dignified in the 5th house. So you still got some of the traits very good from the sun sitting there. Let me take a look at other stuff that you have. Okay, check it out. You got Jupiter balancing off itself. You have Jupiter in the sign of Sagittarius, which is awesome. It rules Sagittarius. However, your Jupiter is sitting in the 3rd house. It's an accidental detriment. An accidental detriment in the 3rd house. It thinks too much. It overthinks. It just thinks. Mind never stops going. It just goes. This is Jupiter sitting in the 3rd house experience. Even though it's in its rulership in your sign, in the sign of Sagittarius, that placement nullifies it a bit. If it was sitting in the 9th house in the sign of a Sagittarius, my gosh, you'd be a guru. And it's still possibility of that happening based upon what I'm seeing here. You're definitely going to be a guru at some point. However, the journey of there could be a little bit hard. It's sort of, yeah. Yeah. So it's an accidental detriment, but it's sitting in its own sign, so it's in its own dignity. Your Venus is in Pisces. So it's an exaltation. Your Venus, the way you love people, is expressed by its 100%. It is all encompassing. It loves people unconditionally. However, your Venus is sitting in the sixth house. So your Venus is exalted in the sign of Pisces. However, it's sitting in the sixth house. So it's accidentally in detriment. Hold on, let me see. What did you say? Hashtag guru. So even though your Venus is sitting inside the sign of Pisces, which is in the best form, its best sign, you also have it sitting in its terrible in a house that it doesn't even like. In the sixth house. The sixth house is very worrisome. It's very criticizing. It's very picky. It's very choosy. And Venus is not comfortable in the sixth house. Because it don't want to be, chased. It wants to express itself. It don't want to feel as if it has to criticize and it has to analyze. Venus and Pisces want to express itself. Say but. That's the but there. So your exaltation is sort of nullified in a sense. It doesn't express itself the way it really, really should because of the placement that it's in, the house that it's in is sitting in the sixth house. So it's an accidental detriment. It's an accidental detriment. There's no homework for today because I need to receive the homework that you guys already got, and which I haven't got any from this last assignment. We're gonna go over your charts on Tuesday, and we're gonna look at the aspects, the accidental dignities, the dignities, the accidental debilities, and the debilities. Okay? We're going to do that on Tuesday. On Tuesday. Tonight is a very quick class. We've been here for an hour and 20 minutes. Say my love is strange. I'd like to thank you too for tuning in tonight, even though, everybody had a busy night on Valentine's. I appreciate you too for showing up in class tonight. And I hope we have this discussion in the chat. In the chat, we could talk about this a lot more. Okay? Thank you for tuning in and enjoy the rest of your night.